promote democracy and freedom around the world is by leading by example. By having our liberties, a sound that we repeal once in office, and that is getting rid of the Patriot Act. But in all these areas, the American people are way against yourself. The government can't protect us against ourselves, and if it tries, it does it at the expense of liberty.
Yeah!
One. Okay. That's okay.
Yeah!
I thought I would have to suspend my speech, and I'm just getting started.
Yeah!
Now, what we want people to do is make up their own minds about how they live their lives with one very strict rule. You can't hurt other people. You can't take other people's property. But it's your life. But another basic premise of this is that if you mess up, it's your responsibility, and you can't go begging your neighbor or forcing your neighbor to take care of you. You know, in many ways, we accept this recession. American people have been very generous. There's still crises around the world, and American people come. It's so much better than depending on government bureaucrats and special interests doing these kind of things. So that we can make these cuts. If we do this, the other suggestion I have is going back to the 2006 budget. And the government wasn't too small in 2006. It was still rather big, so it's not like we're destroying the whole government. We're just going back to a more modest time and getting rid of a few departments, like, say, 5 of them to begin with. Yeah. We can have priorities. If we continue to do what we're doing, we're going to bring in the destruction of the currency, and even the Social Security recipients and the elderly getting medical care and the children's health care and education program, they will come crashing down, because when the money doesn't work, nothing works. So we could work our way out of it, but we can't do it by spending more money and printing more money. It won't work, and I think the American people know it, that it can't work. The issue of freedom. Freedom is what should bring us together, not the way we use our freedom. So if somebody has the freedom to use their money and they waste their money, that should be their problem. It shouldn't be our job to tell them what to do. Same way in a social sense. If people practice certain practices that you don't like and you're annoyed by, just ignore them if they're not forcing you or hurting you. Freedom, and when people have their freedoms and they use them a certain way, it doesn't mean that you endorse what they do. You just endorse the principle of freedom. It has to have reason behind it. Think of the individuals behind the revolution, our revolution. They said for 100 years they talked and studied and understood what property rights were, and they were well versed, much more so than so many of us are today. But the revolution, the intellectual revolution that we're talking about, has occurred now for several decades. It didn't just pop up 4 years ago. What's popping up now is the translation of the intellectual movement is popping up in the political atmosphere now. And but for 30 or 40 years, we've had these think tanks, these people writing, and more professors than ever teaching sound economics. So the groundwork has been laid, and that is why it's coming about now, and we're seeing this. We just don't know the timing. The one thing that we know for certain, if we sit on our hands and we do nothing, there will be the bankruptcy, and those people in, I was going to say something else, but I'll call them people. Those people in Washington who are in charge will not give up their power easily. So this is the reason that is up to all of us. Every one of us has a job to do, one way or the other. My congressional district, and they were receptive to these ideas. Now the audiences are bigger, and the crowds are more energized. The message is being spread, and this energy that's coming from the younger generation, the incorporation of all age groups now, and with the use of the internet, all this is coming together, and the need is so great. I think the last 4 years, things have accelerated because of the need. People are sick of the world wars, and they're sick of the spending. They know these debts are horrible, and the students coming out of college, they may have a huge debt and no job, and they know there's something deeply flawed with the system and that we need to change it.
Yeah.
Will listen to others who have studied, understood, and influenced other people. So that burden falls on individuals who say, I know there's something wrong, and I think I have it, put it together, and I know what's wrong. It's a great idea. It's an American idea. It's a moral idea. It's a constitutional idea. And that obligations fall on us to do our very best to bring this country together, because the message of freedom is popular. It brings us all the diverse elements in a society together to strive for this one goal, and that is to live in a free country. The money is not sound. The economy is not sound. So once again, if we want to live in a prosperous country, we have to think about where prosperity comes from. And it comes from work. It comes from work and effort and savings. This idea that savings are silly, that liberal economists will tell you, that is silly. Savings is worthwhile, working hard and having a product and having a service to give. This is what makes capitalism and free markets work. And it isn't the fact that government... Because if you don't have confidence in the type of government we have now and what we've had, I think that's the beginning of wisdom. You challenge things, and we still have enough freedoms to challenge. We have enough freedom. Spreading of ideas is key, but acting out afterwards. There are some of my friends who know and understand and think spreading of ideas and intellectually is the only thing that counts, and politics don't count. But eventually, spreading of ideas is important, but eventually you have to have political action. The founders practiced political action. They knew the fundamentals of what tyranny, the bad parts of tyranny, and they wanted to change. So they were able to translate that into demanding their freedoms, and that is why we were introduced to a society that we've had. So we have been blessed, but if we don't do something, we will lose it. And I think this is what the people are understanding in this country like never before. Protecting the marketplace, protecting your right to run your life as you see fit, and a foreign policy which means friendship and trade with people. Believe me, under those circumstances, I think we would have the greatest chance for peace and prosperity. That should be our goal. Thank you very much.
President Paul! President Paul! He does one of these every night with different